Good afternoon. We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council, our public hearing, to order. At this time, we will have our clerk read the roll.
Bolden.
Aye.
Boys.
Aye.
Connor. Davis. Fusco. Garrett.
Present.
Hannah.
Aye.
Kamer. Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
We do have a quorum.
We do have 3 items that are up for a public hearing. We're going to ask that our clerk read in item number 1.
Do you want to make a note to council that there was a substitute offered as an amendment that was brought in? It was just emailed to you by our administrative assistant. Again, there's a substitute offered as an amendment for this first piece. Notice is hereby given that the following open comment public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, March 9th, 2026, during a special meeting to be held at 5 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a defense education training facility at 1928 Eastwood Avenue. This notice was advertised in the Akron Beacon Journal on February 21st and on Akron City Council's website beginning February 17th.
Thank you. Mr. Hosbach?
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the council. The petitioner is proposing to establish a training facility at the subject location. The core of the center would be a new 3,840 square feet structure placed within the base of the drained concrete pool. The building would be purpose-built by the manufacturer to endure the rigors of repeated training sessions. While appearing similar to a set of stacked containerized units, they are uniformly painted, typically black with an accent color. The units would be configured and assembled on site to create a 40 by 48 foot first floor, a 40 by 40 second level, and a 40 by 8 foot third level. Because the structure would be recessed in the bowl of the pool, the 27-foot height of the structure would be approximately 20 feet above ground level. The interior of the structure would be fitted with movable wall panels to allow various scenarios. Video cameras throughout and around the structure would allow for performance review by team leaders and instructors. The structure would be utilized not only by fire and EMS personnel, but also by local law enforcement and individuals desiring personal defense training. The petitioner is partnering with Achilles Heel Tactical to provide use of force training. In all cases, the use of simunition rounds will be required. These are reduced energy, non-lethal cartridges that leave a wax, detergent-based, or water-soluble color marking compound to allow accurate assessment of simulated tactics. They do not contain any lead or heavy metals, and the rounds to be utilized are quiet enough that hearing protection is not required. Due to the indoor nature of the simulations and the structure's 250-foot distance from Eastwood Avenue, the discharge of weapons should be inaudible to adjacent properties. The existing primary structure would be utilized as office space for staff, training preparation, film review, and lunch breaks, and would also house a small retail shop. Existing gravel areas lined with railroad ties near the entry would provide parking. The second phase would establish memberships for an archery range to be at the southeastern quadrant of the property. It would feature targets in the range of 10 to 50 feet from platforms at multiple heights and would be enclosed with specially manufactured netting 16 to 20 feet in height. The third phase includes a rappel tower offering descents from 30 feet above ground into the deep end of the pool. Also envisioned are an obstacle course and canine training course. One objective of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan is to develop facilities so that surrounding residents are not negatively affected. The training facility should have minimal impact on surrounding uses, as training sessions would primarily be scheduled events for organizations. The training would be performed indoors in a controlled environment and then reviewed for effectiveness. Fire and EMS training would not include actual or simulated fire, and law enforcement training would never utilize live ammunition. Federal firearms license is not required to sell or provide simunitions or the devices that use them, and the petitioner does not intend to obtain an FFL for liability reasons. The archery range would be screened and buffered from the adjacent Metro Park property. Any commotion from the obstacle course would certainly be less frequent and noticeable than that created by the former swim club. The proposed training center is an imaginative solution to repurpose a former recreation club to meet a real need to provide additional training for first responders, as well as individuals desiring personal defense training and community groups looking to provide fitness training and team building activities. Both the planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to the conditions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, we're going to open up our public hearing. Do we have anyone here in the audience who wishes to speak in favor or against? We're going to ask that you all please stand at this time so that you may be sworn in by our clerk.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, "I do." Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, we're going to begin with the petitioners. We'll begin with those who wish to speak in favor. And we're just going to ask as you come to the mic, if you could please just give us your name and your address for the record.
Welcome. My name is Mark Salerno, and I am a teeny tiny Talmadge Walker family lawyer, and I'm excited to talk about 1928 Eastwood Avenue. It was invented and created and purchased over 35 years ago by Robert Walker Sr. He worked for Goodyear as an engineer. He played on the Wingfoot basketball team, and he was ahead of his time. He created a zero-gravity pool in 1970. He operated it for over 30 years until Father Time knocked on the door and the business outlived its useful purpose. And then it lay dormant for a number of years. Most of the time when we're trying to repurpose a property, there's somebody from out of state that buys it with a new idea, but this is not the case. You'll get to meet the Walker family legacy. Robert Walker Sr.'s son, David, is here to speak on behalf, and Robert Walker Sr.'s two grandchildren, Robbie and Davy, are here too. Their purpose is to train EMS, fire, and police. It's a unique design with metal containers, and these containers can be painted any color, any design, and they're aware of that because they have owned the property for so long. They are neighbors. They are conscientious of the neighborhood and don't want to do anything to detract from that. As far as traffic goes, it's not Walmart, it's not retail. They're not expecting 500 people to drive up there every day. They have a unique design using these storage containers to have townships, villages, schedule an opportunity to have their fire, EMS, and police engage in unique training and learning opportunities. And this is important because when they go into a fire, it's life and death. But in this training environment, it's not. There is a clock, but there is no life and death scenario. There's plenty of parking to accommodate any of the traffic that comes into there. And as far as EMS, you can imagine how fruitful it will be to locate, extract victims in various scenarios, and then be recorded, so that you can watch your mistake and learn from the things that you have accomplished. The same thing with fire, locating, extracting victims or injured perpetrators. The police will also use this facility. It's indoor. It's not a shooting range. When EMS comes, there'll be professional people, no ambulances. When the fire people come to train, they'll be in their private cars, no fire trucks. And when the police come, again, they'll be in their own private vehicles, no SWAT teams. It's not a shooting range. It's a controlled environment inside, and they use simulated plastic rounds. They're no louder than a lawnmower, and that lawnmower would be inside. Very, very small groups, controlled indoor setting. And the way it's supposed to work is that if they go through the scenario properly, they would not have to discharge a simulated round. They're trying to learn how to accomplish their task. Next with me, I have Ben Stasek. He is the Deputy Fire Chief for the City of Talmadge, but that's not why he's here. He's a husband and a father. He's taking his son to the Cavs game tonight, but that's not why he's here. He's here because if you lived in my city, Talmadge, and your house was on fire, Ben would be the one entering your home to help rescue you and put out the fire. Now, he's not representing the city of Talmadge. He's not representing or affiliated with this project at all, except its philosophy of training, fire, and EMS. Ben?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. Again, my name is Ben Stasek. 851 Bentley Place in Talmadge is my address. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight when this project was brought to me. I am not here with the city. I do have to reiterate that what I am here as is a firefighter of over 20 years, a fire instructor of over 15 years, and a chief officer of over a decade. The project that I am speaking in favor of tonight, as described to me, does present a unique opportunity to have a controlled environment training that is not typical in the area. Training facilities are difficult to come by, especially for a smaller city, even the size of Talmadge or smaller. That's additional budgetary items where you're managing your own facility becomes very cost inefficient, and we're not able to do those sort of things. So we're always looking to go outside. As far as what they're describing with the modular containers and being able to move the walls and things like that, I'm only aware of one of those type of facilities within this area located in Cuyahoga Falls. And if you can imagine, just within the county ourselves, we have 32 different fire departments, and that's not to include the law enforcement spaces trying to use this one facility. So you see there is a need and a lack of those facilities. A unique part that I would like to touch on here that they're offering that I have not seen before in my time as an instructor here, but I hear about it as you train with military personnel especially, and on the law enforcement side, would be very efficient and very effective for our training as firefighters. And as Mark said, that going into that no visibility environment, the one thing you can't do as an instructor, you can describe what these students are doing and whether it's correct or incorrectly, but you can't let them see it. The ability to videotape and sit down and actually watch what the student's doing in real time that they're doing and you're not just describing to them is a unique feature that is not offered in this area. It's one thing to try to capture something on a cell phone as you're directing students through a maze, but if you could picture for a moment, please, closing your eyes, putting a mask on, muffling your hearing, and trying to crawl just through this small space here, and then me trying to describe to you what you did wrong to get around and missing this aisle here and going all the way to the wall. I can only describe that so much as you stand here, but if you can actually see and then you can put in your mind's eye feeling this wall and feeling that left turn and knowing that that left hand was on this wall and why you missed that because you didn't swing out far enough. I can describe to you that you are putting your leg out to try to search and feel that victim. But if you think you're doing that, but really you're only moving your leg 6 inches, not the 3 feet that we expect as a training officer, you're not getting that full ability. Having that ability to film, I think, is one of the highlights I wanted to make out of this as I sit here and speak. And again, I'm not here with the city, but I am here as a 20-year career firefighter and a chief officer where this is a benefit to not just the city of Akron, but truly to the suburbs and the surrounding locales as well. To finish it off, I'll just give you an example. We are working on a training where we are actually looking at driving all the way to Canton Township to operate in a similar but not same style facility for the day. So if you can imagine the logistics of a small town fire department trying to go that kind of distance, I think that proves why the need and the capability of supporting a facility like this is here within this location. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
And then with your permission.
And if you could step up to the mic when you speak, thank you.
Thank you. With council's permission, do you have any questions for the walkers?
At this time, we don't have any questions.
Okay.
Did everyone have an opportunity to speak who wishes to do so?
Would anyone like to speak? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So at this time, we do want to give an opportunity for those who wish to speak who are against item number 1.
Oh, gosh, of course.
Yeah, you got to go
I've
first.
never done this before. Hello, everybody. Excuse me, I'm sorry, but I'm really nervous. My name is Nicole Husty, and I actually live right across the street from the planned thing that we're having. I bought my first home, just, I don't have a lot of factual stuff. I'm speaking from the heart with emotion. I bought my house in 2019, first time at 47 years old, was very happy, something that I didn't think I would ever accomplish. It took me a long time to decide what area I wanted to live in. I looked in Elliott, I looked a few places, I rode around, and I said, that's it. I saw the water park and the thing, and I know that the water park had been down. And I thought, if they open that up, that's fine. We've got kids and loudness, and that's not bothering me. I also have a son who is autistic and has been in that house, and my fear is, I understand why. I'm coming from a military background. I also was married to an MP. I get the training and everything that has to be done. That was my life. But I also don't want to live right across the street from it. I have nothing against the Walker family, and I understand that we need those things in different areas, but in a residential area, ask yourself, is that something you want to live across from? It may be different, it's different, and it's, the bullets aren't this and that, but the point is it's there. Eastwood, as we know, if we live anywhere near, is already kind of, the traffic is there. You can't tell me there's no way the traffic, it would make a difference, and I'm not comfortable with it. I'm sorry for the Walker family. I hope, this is something that they could do somewhere in the appropriate space, but this is not something I'm comfortable with across the street, directly across the street from my home. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you could just give us your address for the record, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep. Your name and address.
I'm 1849 Eastwood.
Thank you.
My name is Ted Forsberg. I'm at 3 Primrose Place in Akron. I am the secretary to the Friends of the Metro Park. We have an easement on the property for conservation purposes. The easement is to protect the wildlife, to protect the plants and animals that habitat that area. I have a history too. In my misspent youth, I was the commissioner of the Chicago Cook County Criminal Justice Commission, which funded projects like this. We provided the funds and we provided the property for proper training of personnel. I'm afraid this site doesn't quite qualify for that. Look at it from this standpoint. To the south, to the west, and to the east of the property is the public park. Belongs to everybody. To the north of the property is residential. This is not a proper site for this. I feel for the Walker family. I'm sure they can sell the property and make a lot of money. But this is not the right thing for this piece of property. We have, a lot of times we zone property to allow for tough uses. This is a tough use. Why? You're going to have training, and I realized, there's going to be no gunfire. Well, that's today. Someday in the future, they might come for an amendment. And they'd say, well, we have a structure that's bulletproof. Nothing's going to go through. We're having dogs out here for training purposes. Be careful, please. Take care of the neighborhoods. Take care of the people. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sean Corey, and I live at 497 Narragansett Drive, up the road from Eastwood Avenue, where this facility would be built. Let me be clear from the start. I support training for the police, fire, and full breadth of emergency services. That is not what I and many others here are opposing. I am opposing the siting of a commercial training complex with open memberships, outside users, and industrial infrastructure next to the historic Goodyear Heights neighborhood and the 410-acre Metro Park. In a prior vote before this council hearing, the Planning Commission approved of this 3-1. It was not unanimous, and I'd ask council here to consider what led to that dissenting vote, because council here has a broader mandate than technical compliance. They're here to protect the long-term character of this city's neighborhoods. Goodyear Heights, the neighborhood that would take on what's being proposed, is one of Akron's most historically significant neighborhoods and is perhaps best known as a testament to Akron's great period of growth between the 1910s and 20s as a means to house the workers of the company Goodyear, whose name of which this neighborhood still carries. It was designed deliberately with quality homes, winding streets, and parks woven into the fabric of daily life. That boom era has long since passed, but this neighborhood has outlasted it. People chose this neighborhood because of what it meant and what it continues to provide. Its value was so evident that it drew in new residents like myself and new homes along Eastwood Avenue well into the 1960s, including the street where I live today. Residential means something. It means a place built for people to live above all else. The facility's own planning documents describe memberships open to firefighters, EMS, police, self-defense trainees, charity events, and outside groups. This is a wide open commercial membership model, and it belongs in a commercially zoned or industrially zoned area, not in a residential neighborhood, and certainly not next to a metro park that people in this neighborhood and people across the county depend on. Let's be clear about something. This decision is permanent, and I want to ask a question I have not heard answered. What happens if this fails? What happens when the owners sell? These assurances being given to the neighbors, the intentions described in this Akron Beacon Journal article, which for many is their only window into this proposal, are these binding on future owners? Is this something that the city will enforce as time moves on? We should be clear-eyed about the bigger picture here. Ambitions fall short, properties get sold, and facilities get repurposed. What is financially convenient for private owners today becomes a burden that residents who contribute to the long-standing character of this neighborhood will be forced to carry indefinitely. That burden will outlive any commercial success this place could ever offer. And I'll leave with this. The property of the proposed site on Eastwood was once home to another community institution, the Eastwood Swim Club. You can drive down Eastwood Avenue directly after this meeting and see what remains of it an entire decade after its closure, a decaying structure standing tall in place of where a memory should be. Even it could not survive here. But what has remained and what always remains is this neighborhood. The streets full of homes and rich with people simply going about their lives, building them here. The residential character of this neighborhood has outlasted every commercial venture that has come through here, and that is what has proven to have lasting value. I ask this council please to protect the value of this neighborhood by denying the permit. What is being proposed is a permanent industrial footprint placed next to homes that have stood for close to a century now, next to a park that belongs to everyone. I share the council's interest in opportunities for young people and support public safety. I do. I simply ask that we find a location that fits, somewhere already zoned for it, somewhere that doesn't burden the people who live nearby with something they never agreed to carry. Sometimes a proposal can have legitimate goals and still be the wrong fit for where it is placed. This is one of such cases. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christine Giboni, 536 Narragansett in Talmadge, and I don't have anything written. I just kind of showed up at the last minute, but I'm definitely against this. I moved here to my property 5 years ago in 2020, and I've loved it so far. And when I got there, I did notice, as he said, the abandoned swim park. And ever since I've got here, I made some friends, and I've been spending my summers over at Kim Tam Park and Nelson Ledges. And as wonderful as it would be to have that back, I've never seen it because, again, I've been here for 5 years. It would be wonderful to have that back, but I know that doesn't sound like it's possible. So. However, that's kind of like a happy thing, and while I do support training for public safety, in today's climate, the way things are, I just don't want to add more guns to my neighborhood. I live right there, I don't want to hear gunshots. I don't want to hear that kind of noise. It's scary, it's stressful. I have pets. I walk my dog in Goodyear Heights Park. I don't want her or the neighborhood pets to get all stressed out. I just don't think it's a good idea. And I think my main issue with it is that there's something a little vague about how it's being presented. I would be all for it. Again, I'm not against training EMTs, firefighters. I was engaged to an EMT for a long time. But I just think it's a little too vague in the way it's being presented. Like he said, it's commercial, and if it was like a public utility, I think I'd be okay with that because I would kind of trust the way, you know, it would be handled from the sale and the placement of this business and so forth into the future. But, you know, with a commercial enterprise, it's just, it can turn into anything it wants, obviously, you know, and I'm worried about the people that would attract, to be very honest with you. So sounds like it's top golf for people who like guns, and I'm against that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melissa Riley. I live at 585 Eric Drive, which is within 100 yards of the property on Eastwood Avenue. I was here this afternoon, and I wanted to address a couple things that the walkers spoke about as far as the noise level from the park. The reason so this month I've been there for 20 years in my home. And the reason I moved in is because it's a residential area and because of the swim park, because it was a family place to go, and the sounds that are coming from there were like children playing and picnics, and the music was not offensive in any way because I had young children. Now, moving forward, it hasn't been a park for 10 years, and it is a little bit of eyesore to see that. Like I said, I can see it right out of my window on my back porch. I can see it from my front yard. You can see it driving down the street. I don't know if I can put these pictures into play, but I did take pictures from my backyard that you can see. I apologize, they're in black and white, but I had to print them at the library. And so, if you could see from the pictures, it just looks right down into where this facility would take place. The fence that is there is, I don't know, roughly 6 to 8 feet high, but with the black on it, but that does not cover all of the things you can see inside. It would need more shrubbery around the outside. As far as the noise level from the gunfire, they did not state that it would be soundproof, which I have a problem with. My boyfriend is also a veteran from the Persian Gulf, and that might affect him as well, and my son is also autistic, so I have concerns about that. Furthermore, if I am planning to move sometime in the near future, my home right now is worth approximately $200,000, and from my research, the closer to the home and the perceived danger would decrease the property value between 3.7% to 30%. 3.7% is $7,600, and 30% is $61,600. So that is a big chunk to decrease my property value. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Drakowski. I live at 537 Narragansett Drive. I was here at 1 o'clock. Several of you were as well. I wanted to clarify a few things that were said, in my opinion, on how they were said. First off, I keep hearing the words simulation training tool being used. I've never bought a used car. I've always bought pre-owned vehicles. I think we're changing words. What this is a tactical training center. It's not a simulation tool. You can say simulation all you want, but the bottom line is they're going to be doing tactical type drills in this facility. Also earlier, they asked questions about memberships, and you got a vague answer of how some people were going to be allowed a membership, but other people weren't going to be allowed to have this membership, but maybe this specific group could be members, but this other specific group couldn't be members. I left more confused than when I started. Contrary to what the firefighter back here said, almost every community does have access to training facilities. They call them smoke towers. You usually see them set behind a fire station, anywhere from 2 to 3 stories high. They can fill them with smoke, or they can keep them empty and allow firefighters to train at their home station. Now, he may be correct that there is not one with removable walls, but as a former firefighter, I can tell you right now, when we didn't have these smoke towers, All we did is we just took cloth and we put it over our visors so we couldn't see to simulate blackout conditions, and we can crawl in any room we needed to. So you don't need a special structure with removable walls. That absolutely adds nothing to it. They also said earlier that they're going to be operating like businessman hour, 9 to 5. If they're going to use if a volunteer fire department wants to use this, they usually typically start their training from anywhere from 6 to 6:30. And when fire departments train, usually they're pushing water. How do they push water? They rev up the engines on the fire trucks to engage the pumps. I can tell you, as a former firefighter, this noise is deafening. But sometimes they don't just use one pumper, they use several. They need to know the capacity of water they can put out per gallon per minute. And the only way they can do that is get their equipment to max RPMs to push that water as fast as they can. So now we went from 9 to 5 to 6:30 to 9:30 at night, hearing these large droning pieces of equipment that are going to be running constantly. Unfortunately, the swim park is vacant, and I feel bad. I really do. No one wants to see anything like that. However, this is not bringing jobs into Akron. The Walker family owns it. The Walker family is going to run it. So how many jobs are we adding by changing the zoning requirement? The absolute answer is probably 2, 3, maybe none. So they're actually to change the zoning to actually not even bring in any jobs into Akron. Also, the Walker family earlier admitted they have absolutely no experience with the military, police, firefighters, EMTs, or anything else. One was involved, I believe, in a sales position for some type of police thing, never really got described too well. But they're asking you to change the zoning to run a facility which they have absolutely zero experience in doing so. It worries me. If it was a drugstore, I really wouldn't be that concerned, but this is not. This is containing weapons. Now, somebody earlier said, right now, they're not going to be using any lethal type weapons, but that's going to change. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. But you're going to have outside people coming in. Who's going to be checking to see if they have live ammunition? My guess is nobody. Look what happened with the motion picture Rust, where accidentally a live round was inserted, killed a young lady, and injured somebody else. And look at the horrible tragedy that occurred at I Promise School. Those weren't even lethal weapons that were used, but we had to lose the youth of this city. We don't want something like this in a residential neighborhood. It does not belong. They also talked about the water slide that is existing now is taller than what they're going to build. And also, they talked about the noise level. The music that they played would be louder. You're comparing a water slide to a stackable container that's used for tactical purposes. That's apples to oranges. I would rather see a water slide in an abandoned park than a couple of containers that are stacked upon each other to use tactical training. And I guarantee if every one of you had the choice to look at those two things, you would probably pick the water slide. Also, the noise level. Once again, apples to oranges. You're talking about screams and squeals of kids as they went down that water slide or swam around, or picnics, families having picnics, and that music that was playing. To a bunch of commands on breaching a door, somebody yelling, "Go, go, go," as they storm through that open door, or if they're doing commands on how to properly arrest people on the grass outside. So you're replacing those fun, joyous noises to those unjoyous noises. Also, we do have a couple veterans in our neighborhood that suffer from PTSD. They have been successfully treated. But to have that type of a training facility right in their backyard, are they going to need additional treatment? Who's going to pay for that? Who's going to be with their families if they have a reoccurrence? Also, they also proposed a canine training course. Who's going to be controlling those animals? That park is full of wildlife, deer, every conceivable type of rodent, to squirrels, to chipmunks, to raccoons, to everything. You walk that trail once, you're going to see all those animals. And you're going to have trained killer animals on that facility right next to that park. They also talked about fencing. This is a unique facility. This area kind of sits on a low spot. You have hills on 3 sides of this property, so as you come down, you're kind of looking into the facility. You can clearly see it. They can raise those fences 100 feet in the air, and you would still be able to see them just based on the topography of the land. It was interesting. I thought that they brought a firefighter from the city of Talmadge here to talk about the facility, but not a firefighter from the city of Akron, where the facility is actually going to be sitting at. But since we're talking about city of Talmadge, our councilman who lives in this area and also our mayor who also lives in the area are both opposed. Unfortunately, they cannot be here because their council times are the exact same as yours. I just want to leave you with this one thought. If you pass the zoning ordinance and they're allowed to build it, you're going to be leaving us with the last thing we see at night and the first thing we see in the morning is this site that they want to build. I don't think you'd want it in your front yard, and we certainly don't want it either. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak against? Anyone else wishing to speak against? Seeing and hearing none, we're going to close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what is the committee's pleasure?
Yes, thank you. I believe there's a substitute that ought to be read in.
Substitute offered as an amendment offered by Councilman Fusco. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a defense education training facility at 1928 Eastwood Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Kamer? Connor? Aye. Boys?
Aye.
Hannah?
Nay.
Okay. For the committee's favorable, we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Thank you. Any further comments, Councilman Fusco?
Yes, this amendment speaks to the time frame in which the hours of operation, and I would like that one sentence to be read in, please, or is it up? Mm-hmm.
Condition number 8 was added that the facility shall be in operation between the hours of 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday.
Thank you. That's the amendment, and on the amendment, I'm in favor of that, and on the ordinance, I'm in favor of that as well. Just a couple of things I think that need to be stated in that if the current occupant would go to sell, that runs with the land. It's also important to also note that there's conditions that are here. I believe there's 8 now, 8 conditions that must be met. That's what we do here in the city of Akron. We have conditional use zoning, so we can look at and recommend and make sure that they comply with what the wishes of the city code as well as the ward person and others are. So there's 8 conditions. If any of those are violated, then we call them in. We write them a letter and say, you're violating this condition, and therefore they have to correct it. If they don't, they'll begin to get fined, and then we end up in court. So that's what a conditional use zoning is all about. And again, there's a number of conditions here, and if any of them are violated, and it's up to the community to call that in or to call the ward council person, and I want to point to condition number 4, that live ammunition shall be prohibited from use on this site. So those are just a couple of the things that I wanted to point out, and the wishes of the committee are favorable. Suspension of rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Garrett?
Thank you, Madam President. I had an opportunity to speak with a lot of constituents around this concern. This is an issue that they bring up that they don't want this in their community at all. It's unfortunate that we sit and we have people come into our chambers and we ask how they feel about it, and you have an overwhelming number of people that are against this. At what point in time do we listen to our constituents and really hear what they have to say? It's ironic that, Madam President, I'm just reading this article. It was an op-ed that was out. What kind of world do we seek to create for ourselves and our children, this gentleman wrote in his article in the Beacon Journal? When you ask that, you ask yourself that question, What type of world do we want? Do we want a militarized facility right across from Miss Nicole's home where she has a disabled individual child, and just to have these individuals come down and talk about their PTSD and their issues and their problems? You want to talk about people feeling bad? I moved in this area in 2003. You know how many times me and the other few folks that are Black was denied the opportunity to go to this facility? It was terrible, Madam President. We had to take our kids out to Kalahari or go to Cargill Falls just to enjoy the pool. And I'm not the only one. I got tons of constituents who said the same exact thing. So this membership piece, it's a farce. And it's sad that we are just looking to just bring another militarized system to our community. If they want to put it out in Talmadge, do it in Talmadge. We have a Metro Park right there. The people in the Metro Park are saying, hey, this is not it. And it's just shocking. It is shocking that this is being proposed in that ward, in that area, in that space. At some point in time, we have to listen to them. And going back once again, Madam President, to this article, this op-ed that this individual wrote, talking about what kind of world do we seek to create together for ourselves and our children. It is sad. It is sad, Madam President. And so I stand opposed to this, Madam President, and I ask that my colleagues do as well, along with all of the constituents that have reached out to me as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Say my name. It's okay. You can personalize all you want, Mr. Garrett. However, though, most of us around this horseshoe, we spend the time toward looking at every issue that we have before us. A ward person is the one who deals with this stuff every day. And I can tell you for sure that Council Representative, by her vote, we could see Sharon Connor is in favor of this. In terms of any other things from the past, whatever's brought up, that's the thing of it is, and it's you know, that's rich. The thing of it is there's 8 conditions that we have to consider, which is in our code. There's 8 pieces, and these are binding. This is section 153.474, general standards applicable to all conditional uses. Okay? There's 8 of them here. And this is what we must consider whenever voting on these. We can't go in and say, you know something, you know, this, well, I don't even want to go there. But all I'm going to do is say that, you know, I know that everybody on the planning committee and most council members are very much aware of these conditions that we have to comply with. We can't just pick and choose and say, you know, I don't like this part, I don't like that part. Legally, we have to look at this and consider this whenever we vote on conditional use zoning. It's part of the code that we have to comply with. If we don't comply with the code, just like whenever we're sworn in, we get sued and we lose. That's just the reality. And whenever we get sworn in, this is what we're asked our oath of office. And yes, and please, by all means, I'm happy to say that I wrote that op-ed about our future and about our children. And absolutely, and I believe, I don't personalize things. I don't call people out without even mentioning their name. The thing of it is what I'll do is I'll mention my name, and I'm more than happy to do that, and I'm not going to personalize things. We're sent down here, we're asked to vote. That's our job, to look and study and learn. And if in our heart of hearts we believe this is what's best for the community, that's what we do. We don't personalize things. And that's a shame that somebody would stoop to that level and personalize something without, hey, say my name, man.
Councilwoman Connor.
Thank you, Madam President. I have met with the Walker family on numerous occasions, weeks before this came to be. When it first came across my desk, I was a little nervous about it, but zoning called them in. We had a conversation. I met with the Walker family, Councilman McKittrick and I, given his vast experience with police and fire, met with them, and they addressed all our questions. I've spoken to many of the residents, those who have called me. Many I have offered to talk to them, but they didn't want to talk. They just wanted to tell me they were against it. But we see this time and time again. We come into council to take care of our neighborhood, and the first thing people say is, where have all of our businesses gone? We have no more business in our neighborhood. And so we try to help people, or people find us, and businesses are created. And the minute a business is created, we get, oh, we don't want the traffic. We don't want the noise. We don't want that business here. We all want business, but we want it over there. We saw that with the CVS. We're seeing it here. We've seen it with multiple other things. And then we look like we're not listening to what people say. We are trying our best to bring new and innovative businesses into Akron, because retail, if you haven't figured out, is dying on the vine. We are trying our best to bring income so you don't have to deal with increased taxes and increased cost to give you the lifestyle that we want in our city. And every time we hear the same thing. The Walkers have done their due diligence on this project. We all have looked at it, upside, downside, inside and out. And many of us believe it's a good fit. It's not a pool, it's not a carnival, but it's a new and innovative way to bring income and bring a project to this neighborhood and to this city that maybe we do need. But we'll never know if we don't try something. I am grateful to my colleagues around this horseshoe for an open mind and a willingness to try.
Thank you. Councilwoman Amobian?
Thank you, Madam President. One of the things that I find so troubling, and it continues to bother me, that the largest investment that people will make in their lifetime is purchasing a home. And when you purchase a home, you do have the right to say what you want in your neighborhood. And we listen to people when they come down and they say they don't want it, but yet we vote in a different way. The other thing I heard this afternoon was that everybody did not receive a letter of notification that this facility was being changed. So how do we know that all the people in the neighborhood were notified or not? I am opposed to it because I believe I want to listen to the citizens. And that's why I listened to the citizens over here in Ward 8 when they were opposed to this cannabis place down the street on Mole Avenue from me, on White Pond. And it didn't come in. So I can only tell you that if we invite the citizens to come down and tell us what they want in their neighborhoods, we have a responsibility to listen and to respect their wishes. So thank you, Madam President. And I would like to know, did all these residents receive letters of notification?
Thank you. Councilman Hanna?
Thank you, Madam President. Here we go again. I've been through what the residents on Eastwood are going through. We have residents from that area that are opposed to that new facility being put in the neighborhood. We have to ask ourselves the question and be truthful about it. Would you want that in your neighborhood? I asked that question about 7 months ago or more concerning waste management. And I asked the question, would you want the garbage disposal unit in your neighborhood? And no one raised their hand to say, I would want that in my neighborhood. We have to start listening, even though we do want new businesses to come into our neighborhood. That facility has been down for 10 years, and they're going to put a lot of money into that facility to make it workable. But we have to, at some point, put our residents ahead of greed and outside investors and inside investors. We have to listen sometimes before we make those votes. We could have put this on time and thought it over a little longer, but we didn't. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Hanna. Councilperson Wilson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the short dialogue that we've been able to have and some of the neighbor feedback, and also the new condition number 8 on the timing. I just wanted to, and I sent it to the clerk. All of us, I think, received an email from the mayor of Talmadge asking us to oppose it. So I just want to make sure that, it comes in the letters of things. I still, retain some concern around kind of other types of munitions and the K-9 unit situation. So I just wanted to just put that out there and share my personal thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to have comments that have not already spoken? Councilman Bolden?
Thank you, Madam President. A couple things. I was a little confused during the planning meeting, early the first public hearing, on exactly what they were doing here, but getting a better idea of what we have with the amendment, that no ammunition, live ammunition, is going to be used. That keeps things, that changes things. I was under the impression that they may be doing that, but it's all going to be inside. I also don't see anywhere there will be any fire trucks, any fire, as far as fire trucks being used there. Not going to be working any kind of training there. It's all going to be more the tactical training of how you get back and forth. And then limiting the hours of this, I think, are extremely important. So they're not doing this in the evenings when people are coming home. So I think the amendment addresses a lot of these issues that the neighbors are seeing, and just wanted to make note of that.
Thank you. Councilman Garrett?
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to make sure that we address the constituents' concerns. The young lady mentioned that her property value is getting ready to be decreased by $7,000 to $30,000. That's just hers. How many other people in that community are getting ready to go through the same thing? I think it's worth taking time. I think it's worth taking time to look at this a little bit more, to rush this through. I don't think it's fair. When you take a look at some of the income situations that these constituents are going to deal with, I just think it's just awful that a young lady who spends their money and their life savings just to have tens of thousands of dollars ripped away from her just because of a facility wants to come in and just rename it, who's had a bad history of working with people of color in that community. I just think it's really important, Madam President, that we maybe take time on this particular issue. April 1st can't get here soon enough, Madam President, so we can push forward with getting things done. I am excited. I'm so excited about the residents that came down to speak today. I value their concerns. I hear them. I receive their information, and it is just saddening that we have individuals who aren't trying to really hear them and concerned and just trying to rush this through what it can, instead of just allowing this to go through the normal process, declaring it an emergency. We're asking for time to look at this and to go over this, Madam President. These people deserve it. This is what they deserve. This is how we make our community better, Madam President. I would hope that we take the opportunity to do that. It's just rich when an individual talks about making our community better and then wants to put a militarized facility on their way out the door. I just think it's just very rich, Madam President. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilman Fusco?
I have a comment, and then I'd like to poll the committee for time. My comment is this. Yeah, I'm very, very familiar with that area. I used to represent that area. I was a ward council person. Whenever you're a ward council person, you spend the time, you learn everything you can. You ask the questions, you read, you talk to people, and you learn, and you make an educated decision. That's why the majority of the time, not all the time, but the majority of the time, what we do is we listen to the ward person, because a ward person knows their ward and we respect their opinion. Like I said, most of the time. But sometimes we don't want to do that. Okay, that's fine and that's no problem. And like I said, I know this neighborhood extremely well, and the thing of it is that, I'll be honest with you, to have a number of police officers and firefighters and EMS folks in my neighborhood all the time, yeah, I think I wouldn't mind that. I don't think I would mind that at all. I think I'd feel a little bit safer, as a matter of fact. And so the thing of it is, hey, we're hearing everybody, we're hearing everyone, and what I'm going to do is ask the committee for time. Kamer? Connor? Aye. Boys?
Aye.
Hannah?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Time will be granted.
Notice is hereby given that the following open comment public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, March 9th, 2026, during a special meeting to be held at 5 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to place a shed within the required setback at 844 East Archwood Avenue. This notice was advertised in the Akron Beacon Journal on February 21st and on Akron City Council's website beginning February 17th.
Mr. Hosbach?
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. The petitioner is requesting permission to vary the rear yard setback for a proposed storage shed. The zoning code stipulates that structures for business uses must maintain a minimum 12-foot setback from a residentially zoned property. Since the proposed shed will be 5 feet from the rear property line, a variance of 7 feet is necessary. The petitioner wishes to preserve parking for its parishioners while locating the shed close to the church building. The shed will measure 12 by 20 feet for a total of 240 square feet. The shed will be gray and white with a gable standing seam metal roof, 2 barn-style doors, and 2 windows. The petitioner stated that the shed will provide more storage space for tools to help with landscaping and beautification of the church's exterior. It will allow the church to preserve parking spaces for those who are not within walking distance. The relatively small structure will not create an overdevelopment of the site.
I'm so sorry. Can I call for order? My understanding is we are not allowed to whisper and have conversations in public meetings. Just it goes against the rule in Ohio sunshine law, is my understanding.
And I apologize. There's so much noise outside, I can't hear anything. So thank you for bringing it to my attention. Can we close the door? Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. The relatively small structure will not create an overdevelopment of the site, should not impose on the neighboring property, and will enhance functionality and day-to-day operations of the church. Ray of Hope International Church has been a stable and positive influence in this neighborhood. Both the planning staff and planning commission recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, we're going to open up our public hearing. Do we have anyone here in the audience who wishes to speak in favor or against item number 2? If so, I'm going to ask that you please stand at this time so that you may be sworn in. I see our petitioner in the back. Do you want to offer any comments? I'm not forcing you, but I just want to give you an opportunity if you'd like to. Okay, all right, it's okay. It's okay. So if there's no one wishing to speak in favor or against, we're going to close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what is the committee's pleasure?
I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report. Connor? Boys?
Aye.
Hannah?
Aye.
For the committee's favorable, we are recommending approval.
Thank you. Any further comments? Any comments from any council members? Okay. So the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Notice is hereby given that the following open comment public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, March 9th, 2026, during a special meeting to be held at 5 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to expand the zoo on property south of Diagonal Road and east of Ald Farm Road, parcel numbers 670-1439 and 676-1223. This notice was advertised in the Akron Beacon Journal on February 21st and on Akron City Council's website beginning February 17th.
Thank you. Mr. Hosbach?
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. The petitioner is proposing to expand their animal exhibit space on this residentially zoned property. The zoo plans to use approximately 9¼ acres for an expansion of its Pride of Africa exhibit and surrounding walkways, landscaping, and plaza. The expansion includes a large habitat enclosure featuring giraffes, wildebeests, ostriches, and marabou storks. Animals will be able to roam together within the enclosed habitat that will be situated directly south of the zoo's new animal medical center. Public access will be from the lion habitat to the north. The exhibit will be enclosed with a 10-foot black chain link fence. Existing forested trees will be removed as they can be toxic to the animals. The landscaping within the expansion will have a scattered mix of shade and ornamental trees, shrubs, perennials, and ornamental grasses. 2 large buildings will be featured within the habitat to house and allow for observation of the animals by the public. Both structures will continue the theming of colors and patterns used in the adjacent lion exhibit. The giraffe barn will contain stalls and a day room for the giraffes, plus necessary utility space for zookeepers. It will also have an observation area extending 60 feet from the southern corner of the building. Building materials would consist of precast decorative concrete walls and a flat roof. The observation area will have a thatched roof over its structure. The second building will be a covered observation and event space pavilion on the eastern side of the exhibit. It will be constructed of stone and wood with a thatched roof. A 30-foot tall ADA accessible tower ride, accommodating 8 riders, will be located across the new main plaza south of the lion exhibit. The ride, which rotates slowly and is manually operated by guests, will provide zoo patrons with a unique, elevated perspective of the zoo and its surroundings. The site plan also shows 10-foot wide gravel access road extending west from the giraffe barn to within 25 feet of the property line and turning southwest, following the space between the habitat fence and an 8-foot tall perimeter fence along the zoo's property line. The path runs parallel to Diagonal Road, then continues southeast following Ald Farm Road to a gate on the southern habitat fence, providing zookeepers with access to the back section of the exhibit. The petitioners noted that the access road will also be used to provide special VIP tours. The space along the path will be landscaped and planted with various trees and shrubs. All animals in the exhibit are quiet by nature and should not be disruptive to the surrounding neighborhood. Animal waste will be cleared regularly and disposed of twice per week. The petitioner has worked with the planning staff to arrive at a landscape plan that meets the zoo's needs while addressing the concerns of the city administration. Since there are single-family homes across the road from the site, the planning department has asked that as many mature trees as possible be retained or replaced, and that landscaping be supplemented to provide a buffer to preserve the character of the neighborhood. The city arborist, after surveying the property, placed an economic value on the existing trees of approximately $142,000 worth of ecosystem services to the residents of Akron. The service department and the zoo began conversations last year regarding potential mitigation activities to replace the value lost. Objectives of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan include promoting good design standards for buildings, parking lots, and appropriate landscaping, and maintaining open space buffers between such uses and residential neighborhoods. Maintaining the existing line of trees along the Diagonal Road and Ald Farm Road property lines, supplemented by additional landscaping, should shield the use from the nearby residential dwellings. The Akron Zoo employs over 400 people and has been a positive presence in the Shabandi Hill neighborhood. The Akron Zoo's expansion of the Pride of Africa exhibit will create new opportunities for guests to experience giraffes and other animals, and will be an excellent addition to the zoo and surrounding community. But the planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to the conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to open up our public hearing. All those wishing to speak in favor or against, we're going to ask that you please stand at this time so that you may be sworn in by our clerk.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, "I do." Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to begin with those who wish to speak in favor.
Hi, everyone. My name's Nate Storm. I live at 3704 Nautilus Trail in Reminderville, Ohio. Great explanation of the project was just given. Just wanted to reiterate, we are very excited about the largest project in zoo history that'll cover approximately 8 acres on the zoo property. This multi-species habitat will be very unique, featuring giraffes, wildebeests, storks, and ostriches. The guests will also have opportunity to feed the giraffe at our interactive feeding deck and an outdoor feeding deck as well. This new project will include an observation pavilion for viewing the animals in the 4-acre habitat, public restrooms, a concession stand, and a small retail space. The project is projected to increase attendance to over 500,000 guests annually and drive economic growth throughout the county. I know there's been some concerns about smells that would come from this project, but we are going to treat it like we do throughout the rest of the zoo. Everything will be hauled out as needed, and we do not have any concerns that this would be different than any of our other animal habitats. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vince Jeffries of 526 North Portage Path in Akron. I wanted to bring up, there was a concern earlier today about those directly involved with the habitat creation, not necessarily being from the Akron area. We have a small executive team, and I can say that I am from the Akron area and proud of this area. Also, Bob Lesnow, our Chief Life Science Officer, who's responsible for the care of the animals, is also from Akron. I want to state that earlier today, I had a good experience, and that experience was I heard from some individuals that had concerns. And I think those are respectable concerns. And I think it allows us to have discourse, it allows us as a zoo to listen, and it allows us to respond. I can't speak for prior the 8 years that I have been here at the zoo, but I do know from the 8 years that I have been here, we take community concerns seriously. And when our phone rings, we make an effort to respond in 24 hours. When we get emails, we want to respond right away. Linda Chris over there has been here for over 30 years, and I can guarantee you that if anyone in this city has a concern about this project, she will take the time to meet with you, she will answer the phone, and she will respond to an email. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak against?
Linda Curry of 674 Rainbow Drive. Now, as far as the zoo, I fought with the zoo. All of you guys are new to me. I know Pat Simmons. I dealt with her for years. Your fence line is my backyard. I have complained to the zoo about the overgrowth coming through the fence, and I have to pay people to cut the stuff down. The last time I had to complain, they did come up and cut poison ivy. Poison ivy is thick as my arm. And they first of all said, "You don't have any." I said, "What is this on this pole?" Oak, everything is up in that wooded area. No, they don't keep that property up there. Yes, the zoo is building, and I'm not against them building. I'm concerned about the smell. You cannot control the wind. I'm concerned about the sounds. I hear the sounds from the baseball field when they have the fireworks after the game. I hear the train that goes down around Maple North Street from my house. I hear the helicopter that flies over my house, and it sometimes shakes it. I am concerned about noise. I'm concerned about smell. I'm concerned about where's this access road? Is it coming on behind my house? Is it going to bring more traffic? Where's this parking lot going to be built? We haven't received a map of far as where's this parking lot, where's this access. We have people that sometimes drive around there and it's like, how do we get to the zoo? I have to tell them, you go around. So I'm not against them building, but I am concerned about the road, the traffic, the parking lot, the smell, because the animal's going to be outside. And I'm going to give you one scenario. When you hear a bird chirp, one or two, you hear it. But I'm sure many of you heard crows. When I call them, I say they having a convention in our neighborhood. The sound is loud. No, we do not smell anything from the zoo because we're up on the hill. But now the zoo is up bringing their building project up on the hill where the houses are. I've been up there over 30 years. I've seen where property behind my house was nice. I got pictures of it because my son used to throw his shoe over there. And it was a school teacher. Somehow her family came and got her, and it was sold. And then later on, it was sold 9 acres to the zoo. We fought years ago about houses being built up there like they built on Diagonal, where I told them, we don't want this behind my house. I don't want houses that you can reach out and shake your neighbor's hand. But this has nothing to do with the zoo part. But the point is, I'm concerned about the smell because you do not control the wind. I'm concerned about the noise. I'm concerned about traffic, parking. I want to see a map where the parking lot is going to be, where this access road, is it Perkins Parkway Drive? I want to know. And the only reason why I'm here, because I took off work to be here. I couldn't make it the other meeting because I totally forgot about it. And I work four 10-hour days. So a lot of times I'm just too tired to make it here. But I'm here today. I've seen many people in my neighborhood that are deceased, but I've lived up there. And I can tell you that street that they fenced off, we used to call it Snake Hill because we used to go sled riding from Perkins Parkway all the way down to Euclid. I've seen where I've taken my kids to John Brown's monument that was closed off for a long time, not access to the public. I've seen my neighborhood change. Now that homes are being built, it's bringing back. But the neighborhood of West Akron, they were torn down. That's why you didn't have any property taxes. You have majority of homes torn down in our neighborhood. Not in my immediate, but I'm saying the West Side area. So now they're rebuilding. But we need other businesses too. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak against?
Hi, I'm Jada Taylor, and I live on 754 Diagonal Road, and I'm completely against the zoo. Personally, I don't like smelling animals, and I hate the zoo already. So I don't want to be nowhere like near the zoo and like constantly smelling it. And like I know like the guy over here said like they're going to like control it and stuff, but when I go to the zoo, I gag every single time, and I don't want to be like closer to it, especially like in the morning when I'm going to school and stuff. I don't want to have to be like, oh my gosh, it stinks out here, you know? Like, and also, I just feel like if we're going to build something right there, I feel like it should be something to do for like teenagers or kids, because now it's a bunch of kids that live over here, and we don't have anything to do. And a lot of teenagers don't want to go to the zoo. That's for little kids. But I just feel like if we are going to do something, it should be more useful for like teenagers and stuff, because there's literally nothing for us to do. We have to go to like Fairlawn, Montrose, Cuyahoga Falls, Chapel Hill, well, not even Chapel Hill anymore, but like Canton and all these other places and stuff. So I just don't feel like a zoo is a good idea. That's all.
Thank you.
Detroit Taylor, 754 Diagonal Road. That is my legacy. And that's exactly it. So I want to paint the visual of, and earlier when I came, I got a letter in the mail, like many people. I didn't get any type of like bulletin to know. And I feel like the city kind of had their mind made up, because if you go down Diagonal Road where they're talking about building, there's already tractors there. Some of the trees are already torn down right by the animal hospital. It's already zoned off as if the plan was already decided. So then I got the letter in the mail. And so I apologize. I didn't come to the third ward council meetings, because actually I found out from my brother, who we co-own 734 East Avenue with, that we grew up in, because he was looking for a family reunion space and found out about Ed Davis and said, oh yeah, by the way, there's a third ward council meeting that happens. So all my neighbors, most of them are senior citizens. We grew up, our parents bought our house in 1977. So Snake Hill, we used to ride our bikes down there. I remember when they blocked off that road for us to there, thinking that it was gonna be beautiful, something for the zoo, but it, like to my neighbor's point, nothing has been done. When you walk, I take my kids, and my oldest is 27 now. We would ride our bikes that way. We would take walks. It's nice and quiet, but overgrowth. So I'm like, don't touch that. There's poison ivy over there. It's a shame that they didn't do anything with this. I remember when, but it's still, I remember when 30 years later. Painting the visual of the way the neighborhood looks. If I walk out my front door and I walk to the left, and I like to walk when I'm off, and I was home working from COVID all this time until recently, that's another story. But walking down the street, You know, you got Akron Alliance, the church. Most of my neighbors are senior citizens, retired. A lot of them walk in the neighborhood. Then we got the new houses that we were, oh, okay, this is gonna be nice houses. You can literally touch your neighbor. Like, you want coffee out the front window. And growing up in this historic neighborhood with all the land, which is why I bought my house, was because of all the land. That's what we thought, you know, and where they're building the hospital, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't that Representative Sykes' house when we were growing up? So that's what we envisioned. So to come out and say, okay, animal hospital, I didn't get no letter. I vote every time. I do remember there being something about increasing taxes for the zoo, but not necessarily where, nothing on Diagonal Road, nothing on All Farm. But when it comes to, when it's time to vote, my mail is flooded with representatives that want my vote. I've never got nothing in the mail about Third Ward Council meetings. I never got anything in my mail about Diagonal Road becoming a zoo property. And I look at my mail, you know, so just, what's his name up here, Eric Garrett? You made a comment about listening to the people, but like I said, it seems like their mind has already been made up. You already see the zoning happening. You already see the tractors in the property. And are we here just to hear what's happening, or do we actually have a say? And again, my neighbors being mostly senior, should I have knocked on their doors and said, hey, we need to come over here? Like, because I don't know if they're going online to see when these council meetings are. I don't know if they're looking at social media. I don't even know how they would find out. I just so happened to get a piece of mail, which we didn't even get our taxes this year. I had to call because they said the mail was running late for the taxes, for the property taxes, and paid online. So it's things like that. So if our neighbors over in Talmadge who wasn't getting their mail, I'm wondering if it was the same situation for our neighborhood, but unfortunately not a lot of us are here to speak for it.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Clarence Dawson. I stay at 734 East Avenue. That's my sister, and piggyback what she said. We grew up in that house. And unfortunately, we lost our parents a couple of years ago to where we was able to keep the house in our family. So growing up, again, going up to Ed Davis, Perkins Pool, going down Snake Hill, that was our area. We did the zoo. Like I said, I'm in favor, you know, as far as like building it up, because we used to go to the zoo when we was kids, you know. It came a long way. But the simple fact that it is a historical area where we stay at. I mean, you got John Brown's home right there. You got John Brown's monument that sits back in the woods, and I can't even tell you, so much overgrowth over there. I don't know if the monument is still even there, you know. That's the thing that we got to emphasize. This is a historical area, you know. I remember going down Snake Hill, going down to the Custer stand. My thing is, as far as having minority-owned businesses or businesses in that area that we can invest in. You know, there's so many vacant buildings down in that area. I mean, you go down V. Odom, I mean, it's trash everywhere, you know. You know, we need to invest in that area as far as the surrounding areas around the zoo. Yeah, you're investing in the zoo, but you need to invest in the areas that surround the area. You know, we're gonna take care of our property, of course, but you know, you go down Copley Road is right down the street. Copley Road is nothing on Copley Road to where if you go to the zoo and you have a good time at the zoo, where are you gonna go? Yeah, Fairlawn. You know, there's no family-owned restaurants where you get in there and sit down and have a good meal after you have a good time at the zoo, or even downtown. I mean, there's nowhere to really go. If you go to the Rubber Ducks game, you go to the game and you're going home. You know, so we need to have, you know, invest in this area, you know, to where you could keep the talent here, keep the residents happy, you know, and, you know, like I said, we're back to the zoo, you know, we need to have, you know, for teens and teenagers. Now, we got the community center, cool, they got activities there, but there's nowhere really for them to go, and they're all over the place. So, you know, just take that in consideration, you know, as far as, you know, us in this area, you know, the residents, and just see what we got to say. You know, that's all I got to say this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else wishing to speak against? Seeing and hearing none, we're going to close our public hearing. Yep. Councilman Fusco, what is the committee's pleasure?
Okay, gonna pull the committee for a favorable report. It's Connor, Boyes,
Aye.
Hannah.
Aye.
Report of the committee is favorable.
Thank
And
you.
we're recommending approval this evening. Heard the report, the extensive report from planning, and I know you had a meeting on it. You did all the work and met as best you could with your community to let them know what's going on.
Thank you. So I just want to say a couple of things to the residents who have come down. I'm going to tell you, the Akron Zoo has been a great community partner. If there are issues that arise, they do solve them. So I want you to know we've got a commitment from the zoo and had a commitment from the zoo over years and years since I have been the ward council person. When you talk about a community partner in history, it is because of the Akron Zoo we have access to the John Brown Monument, which is on their property. They help us maintain it. They have opened it up so that people in the community can see it. But that is because of the Akron Zoo, them being and wanting to be a good community partner. So if in fact throughout this process there are issues, please reach out to me, reach out to the zoo. We will make sure those issues get addressed. I know someone wanted to see a site map. We can provide that. You know, at the meeting that we had a few months ago, they provided a project map and went through all those details. We can make sure that you guys have access to that information as well, okay? And I'll be willing to meet with you after if there's any additional questions or anything as well. Councilperson Wilson?
Yes, Madam Chair. I just had a quick question. Maybe this is a planning zoning question, but for zoo facilities specifically, can there be conditions or are there already laws or nuisance things related to smells? My understanding is our code generally already blankets things like nuisance smells. So if things were to be a problem, we could report that, I think, right? Mm-hmm. I just wanted to bring that up. That seemed to be a thread.
So the parcel that the project is located on is zoned 2-family. So this would require conditional use. And so, yes, we are in a position to require conditions.
Is smell already, smell is already under our nuisance, would be a nuisance violation, an abhorrent smell, I'm pretty sure. So that could be reported to our nuisance department through 311.
Absolutely. And I've had conversations, again, with Doug, who's the CEO, who makes himself readily available, who really talked about, particularly in the evening when the zoo closes, these animals are going to be going inside. There is a HVAC system that helps address smell issues. So again, if there are issues that arise, I'm committed to working with you to address them, and I know the zoo is also committed to addressing those issues, as they always have been in the past. Okay. So at this time, the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0.
And there's nothing left on our agenda, so at this time, meeting adjourned.
Council will meet in regular session in just a few minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. At this time, our clerk will read the roll.
Bolden?
Aye.
Boys? Aye. Connor? Davis? Fusco? Garrett?
Present.
Hannah?
Aye.
Kamer? Lombardo?
Aye.
McKittrick?
Aye.
Amobian?
Aye.
Somerville?
Aye.
Wilson?
Aye.
All members are present except for Councilwoman Davis.
Thank you. For those who voluntarily wish to do so, would you please stand at this time as we're led in prayer by Reverend Brad Rito of New Covenant Community Church. Immediately following our prayer, I'm going to ask if Councilwoman Connor will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right. Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you for this time together. We thank you for the opportunity for the citizens of Akron to engage in open dialogue with those that we have elected to represent us. We pray that all ears might be open, all hearts might be generous, and all conversations might remain civil. Guide our words and our hearts, both here and as we go on our way afterwards. This we pray through your Son, who is our guide and shepherd. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes from our previously held meeting have been provided. Are there any additions or corrections? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The motion to approve the minutes passes 12-0.
Okay. We're now going to move to our public comment period. All those who signed up to participate, we're going to ask that you please stand at this time so that you may be sworn in by our clerk.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just going to ask when you hear your name, if you'll please approach the podium, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak to this body. We're going to begin with Paul.
Paul Drakowski, 537 Narragansett Drive. I did have this down to exactly 3 minutes. However, there was something said when I spoke earlier, so out the door goes the speech. I do want to make a comment about the additional police that are going to be brought into our neighborhood for this tactical training, training center. Problem is, the facility doesn't have any contract with the City of Akron Police. So therefore, they can't even come to that facility and issue a parking ticket because they are out of jurisdiction. That provides no additional security to our neighborhood. Just so that point is absolutely clear. Also want to talk about the noise that's going to be generated. They keep saying that they're going to have these businessman hours. However, on the weekends, when we can fully enjoy the nice weather that eventually is going to come, to open our windows, to enjoy the fresh air, we're going to be hearing commands of people yelling, go, 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 or doing arrest on the ground. I mean, they all say they're all going to be inside, but I'm beginning to doubt that when the majority of this facility is not going to be enclosed. So you're going to be hearing, get down, stay down, hands behind the head. That is what our summer is now going to be filled with instead of the birds chirping that comes from the park. Those animals we like to see, they're going to start to scatter because they're not going to like the noise that is down there. We also touched on the value of our homes. This is not going to add value. It is going to decrease. It is a tactical training facility. It is not a Walmart. It is not a Costco. It's not new homes. This is a place that is designed to take down people, whether they're breaking the law or not. Watch the news at night. Watch these people being arrested. It's not a quiet endeavor. It is very loud. I know. I used to be in the military and I was a first responder. I have been on those front lines. I have seen it firsthand. I know exactly what I am talking about. The people that want to build this facility have done none of that. They have not even seen it to my knowledge, but I have lived it. Also, I've discussed our home values with some realtors. They told me that if somebody's interested in 2 houses, one of which is next to a tactical training center, they will go buy the other house because tactical training center can mean a lot of different things to different people. We're being given promises. I have been promised the world multiple times, but I stand before you not holding the keys to the world. Promises are empty. And you also talked about it's going to be before the zoning commission, I believe, and if they violate 8 of these any rules that they have, how long does that take? Does it take a week, a month, 10 months before you pull them in front of the zoning commission? Who collects this evidence? Is it the police? The police may be their potential customers.
I'm so sorry, Paul, but your time is up, but thank you.
I respect that. Thank you for listening to me, and we do appreciate that you'll keep this zone residential what it is now instead of changing it and changing our neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Nathaniel Green.
Good evening. This is probably my shortest public comment. I'm gonna get straight to the point. Not too long ago, there was a citizen, I think her name was Miss Knight, who came down and ventilated about the situation with her sewer line. So I think you guys should do what a lot of cities do. New York City, Detroit, Cincinnati, and that's establish a department of an ombudsman, okay, or a public advocate who represents the citizens who have an issue with city agencies. Because what happened that night, that evening, should never have gotten to that point. I understand it was a situation that brewed over 2 years. Okay, what you need is an ombudsman for the city of Akron with subpoena power, okay, who can investigate these city complaints, and it will never get to this point where she has to come down here and do what she did. Number 2, I mentioned this the last time I was here about the back and forth between the mayor and the councilman, sucking the air out of the room with this, what I call a political soap opera, back and forth. When you see the mayor throwing a right or a left at the microphone, you know things are getting bad. You know, there's a mayor's race next year. There'll be plenty of time for them, both of them, to go at each other. You got the library down here. You got the civic theater. If they want to do public debate on police reform, that's where you take it. I think people will pay to see it, and they can donate the money to charity. And number 3, I noticed when I go to the civil oversight, the city oversight for the police, I know some of you city councilmen don't attend. I think you guys should at least try to come to a couple of them. You don't have to come down there all the time. You don't have to stay there for the entire duration, but you should come down there and participate. I went down there to a few. I think some of you, I think it should be your civic duty to go down there. And one question, maybe some of you, you can answer real quick. Maybe I missed a memo on it. People have been wondering, a lot of people have been wondering why, when we're up here speaking, y'all never show our face no more. Because I've been thinking, we're gonna be petitioning, the public should be able to not only hear us, but they should be able to see us. Y'all don't do it to y'all when y'all talk, y'all don't block your face out. So I'm just curious, is there a plausible explanation for it? And thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Green. And I'll be happy to talk with you after.
I'm gonna be stepping out in a second.
Okay, but I got your information. I'll reach out to you.
Okay, well, thank you, appreciate it. And maybe you might want to address them too.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. So at this time, that concludes our public comment period. We do want to thank those who have participated. Council, before you is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The consent agenda passes 12-0.
We'll now move into old business, starting with planning and economic development. Councilman Fusco.
Committee requests time on 4 and 5. There's a substitute on item number 6. Could you please read that in?
Yes. The substitute for item number 6 can be found as item number 3 under the new legislation list. It's a substitute offered as an amendment offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to rebuild a Taco Bell restaurant at 414 East Exchange Street and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Request of the committees for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank Kyle, Julian here. In terms of working with a resident over there, had some concerns that were brought up, and believe we have that resolved, and so we're recommending approval this evening. Thanks.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 12-0.
Thank you. Time will be granted. Public Safety, Councilman McKittrick.
Continued time, please.
Thank you. Time will be granted. That concludes our old business. We'll now move into new legislation.
Item number 1, offered by Lombardo, resolution adopting an annual operating budget for the fiscal year 2026 and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lombardo.
The committee's report is for time.
Thank you. Time will be granted.
Item number 2, offered by Lombardo, ordinance to make the annual appropriation for the current expenses, other expenditures, and the capital outlays of the City of Akron for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2026, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lombardo.
Again, time, please.
Thank you. Time will be granted.
Item number 3 was the substitute that was just passed, so we'll move into item number 4, offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing the Director of the Department of Planning and Urban Development or his designee to enter into a contractor contracts with nonprofit organizations for the provision of public services in order to carry out the intent and purpose of programs under the consolidated plan for the year 2026, authorizing payment therefore and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 5, offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing the Director of the Department of Planning and Urban Development or his designee to enter into a contractor contracts with Let's Grow Akron Incorporated for the purpose of operating the Akron Grows Public Gardening Program in order to carry out the intent and purpose of the programs under the consolidated plan for the year 2026, authorizing payment therefore and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 6, offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing the Director of the Department of Planning and Urban Development or his designee to enter into a contractor contracts with ABJ Apartments LLC for the renovation and adaptive reuse of property located at 44 East Exchange Street into 120 apartments affordable for residents across income levels in Akron and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Consent agenda.
This item will also be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 7, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contractor contracts after publicly advertising for bids and/or obtaining quotes as appropriate for the purchase and installation of speed tables, solar signs, raised crosswalks, and other traffic calming interventions, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you, Madam President. This is to move forward and continue our efforts in our neighborhoods to use speed calming to help with the speeding concerns that we have from our constituents. This includes 2 to 4 additional rubber speed tables, 40 solar speed signs, and 13 permanent asphalt tables that will go up this year, and we're asking for passage.
Thank you so much. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 12-0. Item number 8, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contractor contracts after publicly advertising for bids, requesting and receiving requests for proposals, requesting and receiving quotes, and/or self-performing work for the replacement of exterior lighting in various city-owned parks and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 9, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contractor contracts after publicly advertising for bids, requesting and receiving requests for proposals, requesting and receiving quotes, and/or self-performing work for the rehabilitation of garages at the Akron Municipal Service Center and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 10, offered by Kamer, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids, requesting and receiving requests for proposals, requesting and receiving quotes, and/or self-performing work for maintenance and improvements at the Akron Municipal Service Center and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda.
This item will also be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 11, offered by Kamer and Wilson, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids, requesting and receiving requests for proposals, requesting and receiving quotes, and/or self-performing work for maintenance and improvements at the Mustle Store and House and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 12, offered by Kamer, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into an agreement or agreements after publicly advertising for bids and/or utilizing State of Ohio cooperative purchasing and/or consortiums for the lease, purchase, and/or refurbishment of various vehicles and equipment and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, President Somerville. The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you, I appreciate that. This is our legislation for our annual equipment replacement program that includes fire, police, and a lot of public works vehicles. And with that, we're asking for passage.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended, and the committee's report is favorable. I'm sorry, Councilperson Wilson, did you have a comment?
Just wanted to give a quick note. We had a good discussion today. The services went in great detail about this. I just had a remaining question. The person who is able to answer the question is out today, so I will be abstaining for that reason. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Roll call.
Bolden.
Aye.
Boyes.
Aye.
Connor. Fusco. Garrett.
Aye.
Hannah.
Aye.
Kamer. Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
Wilson.
Abstain.
This ordinance passes 11-0 with one abstention. Item number 13, offered by Mayor Malik, President Somerville, Councilmember Garrett, and Councilmember Davis. Resolution in which City Council and the administration commit to working together to establish a pre-activation look-back requirement for all body-worn cameras utilized by officers of the Akron Police Department and declaring an emergency.
Councilman McKittrick.
Consent agenda, please.
Thank you. This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 14, offered by Connor, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the rehabilitation of Corona Park in keeping with the Akron Parks Challenge and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Connor.
Consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 15, offered by Connor, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the rehabilitation of Waters Park in keeping with the Akron Parks Challenge and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Connor.
Consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 16, offered by Connor, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Akron Parks Collaborative without the formality of publicly advertising for bids for professional and supplemental services related to the improvement of certain parks within the city of Akron and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Connor.
Consent agenda, please.
This item will also be placed on the consent agenda. That does conclude our new legislation for this evening. We'll now move into our committee assignments. Rules, Councilman McKittrick.
2 p.m.
Public Safety, Councilman McKittrick.
2:15.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Lombardo.
3 p.m.
Parks and Recreation, Councilwoman Connor. Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco. Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Bolden.
3:30.
Public Service, Councilman Kamer.
2 p.m.
Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian.
2:30.
Thank you. Is there anything else coming before council at this time? Councilperson Wilson?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I know we've had a long day of meetings, but I just wanted to recognize there's a lot of good work done today and a lot of really healthy dialogue that happened in and out of this room. And I think particularly, we had a really robust conversation about public safety and Public Safety Committee about the resolution that's now on consent decree. So I appreciate everybody's dialogue on that. I don't know if it's possible to add my name to the legislation. I couldn't catch it as it was going through, but I appreciate the work being done on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilwoman Connor?
I just want to give a quick shout out to Bill Marchand and the principal and staff at Cyberlink School. On Friday morning, he was able to do a presentation to 65 second graders on all the work being done at the reservoir across the street. So the kids were very engaged. They asked lots of questions. They wrote lots of messages, and they can't wait for him to come back.
Thank you so much for sharing. Anything else coming before council at this time? Do we have a motion for adjournment? No objections? Meeting adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.